Hi, my name is Léontine Cohen. I'm a licensed tour guide in Israel and France, and I prepared a series of small films about Israel. The series is called In the Footsteps of. In every film I will develop a theme, a subject, an event, and here is number 1, In the Footsteps of Saint Stephen. Enjoy! We are in Jerusalem. Stephen lived in the 1st century and is the first Christian martyr. Martyr means witness. After Jesus had died, resurrected, and went to heaven, there was a big crisis among the followers of Jesus, who were all Jewish, like Jesus. His followers believed he was the Messiah. We are now going to Mount Zion, to the room of the Last Supper. The 12 apostles, who 10 days after the ascension of Jesus received the Holy Spirit in the room of the Last Supper, were working hard to continue to spread the teachings of Jesus. They became missionaries. They lived together as a community. Some of the widows they took care of were neglected because they were too busy being missionaries. And the apostle probably did not even have time to take care of their own everyday things, like cooking, washing, and cleaning. So the apostles ordained 7 deacons to take care of these widows and themselves. A deacon means the one who serves. The oldest of the 7 deacons was called Stephen. You can see him in this icon in white. He received the title archdeacon, which means the chief among the deacons. Stephen means crown. He was Jewish, like the 12 apostles and the 6 other deacons. According to the book of Acts, Stephen did wonders and signs among the people and became very popular. This was considered so annoying by the Jewish religious leaders that he was accused of blasphemy. Blasphemy means speaking offensively about God or sacred things, or speaking against God and Moses. He was put on trial by the Sanhedrin. We are now going from Mount Zion to the Temple Mount. The Sanhedrin at that time was the Jewish court system. It was a religious assembly of 71 sages who met in a room in the temple on the Temple Mount that you can see here. According to the book of Acts in the New Testament, several people came and produced false testimonies. An interesting detail is that one of the 10 commandments says, "You shall not produce false testimony." Stephen was charged of blasphemy. He responded by detailing the history of Israel, and he even admonished the Sanhedrin, calling them stubborn. When he finished speaking, he had a vision of Jesus standing next to God. This was the proof for the Sanhedrin that Stephen was indeed guilty of blasphemy, as Jews, until today, did not believe Jesus was the Messiah or the Son of God. The crowd that had witnessed the trial dragged Stephen out of the city gate and stoned him to death. The stoning took place outside the city, as executions were never to be conducted inside the city in that period. There are 2 possible locations for the stoning. A Byzantine tradition of the 5th century tells us it took place outside Damascus Gate, that you can see here. A Crusader tradition of the 12th century tells us it took place in the Kidron Valley, outside the Lion's Gate, that you can see now. Both gates received the name of Stephanus Gate in those 2 different periods. He was buried, but we don't know where. One tradition tells us that Gamaliel, the president of the Sanhedrin, allowed the family of Stephen to have him buried on the estate of his country house. But I will come back to this in a moment. Today we have 2 churches of Saint Stephen outside the old city of Jerusalem. Here you can see the French Catholic Church Saint-Étienne outside Damascus Gate. Étienne is Stephen in French. The other church is a Greek Orthodox church. It's outside Lions Gate and it's called Saint Stephen in the Kidron Valley. Here it is. Both churches are located close to tombs of the time period of Stephen. We are now going to the area of Beit Shemesh, west of Jerusalem. This is where is located the monastery of Beit Jamal. Jamal comes from Gamaliel, the elder. Gamaliel was a rabbi and the president of the Sanhedrin in Jerusalem. He was more tolerant than his colleagues towards the followers of Jesus. He was also the teacher of Saul, now known to us as Saint Paul. Saint Paul, who originally was called Saul, was a Jew who, like many others in the time of Stephen, persecuted those Jews who had become followers of Jesus. Paul, who in that time was still on the side of the Jews, witnessed the trial and stoning of Stephen. During the trial and the stoning, he even carried the coats of the men who produced the false testimonies. It is only later that he switched sides and became a follower of the teachings of Jesus. So here we have the link between Stephen, St. Paul, and Beit Jamal, which means the House of Gamaliel. According to tradition, Gamaliel allowed the family of Stephen to have him buried on the estate of his country house. In the 5th century, a priest had a dream where Gamaliel appeared to him and showed him the remains of the tombs of Stephen and Gamaliel. Their remains were brought to Jerusalem, and a church was built on the location of the now empty tombs. Today, there is a Catholic monastery built over the remains of the Byzantine church and the tombs. Two interesting details to know. The first deacons were ordained by the apostles, who held their hand above the heads of the deacons. The hand is the symbol of the Holy Spirit that the apostles had received earlier. Until today, this is how a deacon is ordained in the church. And today, Saint Stephen is the saint patron of many different things. For instance, of many cities in Europe, of the altar service, the bricklayers, the casket makers, the stonemasons, and of course, the deacons. I do hope you enjoyed this little movie, and I look forward to meeting you again for my second movie that comes very soon. Please feel free to share it with your friends, and a big thank you to Shlomo Cohen, my editor. Bye bye!